It's like I'm stuck in the infinite for real. That shit a real good thing to me though, if you ask me. They be talking on the surface without going under like they in the slumber. If it's God you really wanna discover, take the mask off. Take the mask off, I ain't no more hitting me up. All unconditional love, we in the infinite. What? We in the rabbit hole you didn't know. We take you places you ain't been before, your ego wanna let you go. And ain't no getting it back once you lose that. You know it's a wrap, you falling in that love trap. Once you feel these vibes, you lose control, babe. No reason to hold on, just let it go. Tell them bad vibes that just leave you alone. When it's you and God, you're not alone. I'm out the way, I'm doing this every day. You know that we demon slay, that shit feel like a payday. All internal, my ego be yelling Mayday. Click, clack, fuck that, we taking no breaks. Alchemy at its best, leaving me to the rest. Gotta turn it to love, it's like an open book test. People like to project, but they don't like to reflect. I don't wanna know what's next, I'm present all in my steps. I'm not a religious man, but I put God first. I'm lost in the infinite, this life I rehearse. It's like I die every day, this an endless rebirth. This an endless rebirth. Once you feel these vibes, you lose control, babe. Control, babe. No reason to hold on, just let it go. Tell them bad vibes that just leave you alone. When it's you and God, you're not alone. Once you feel these vibes, you lose control, babe. Control, babe. No reason to hold on, just let it go. Tell them bad vibes that just leave you alone. When it's you and God, you're not alone.
Hey, how could I ever be alone? Between my billions of cells and chromosomes, I got the universe within me, galaxies within reach, planets all in my palms, roses all in my feet. Hey, you couldn't walk any size 14s. I'm a real life titan, niggas know I'm a beast. Set my intentions now, I'm about to sign on a dotted line. No, it's mine, I don't need a receipt. And I be shining like it's stars on me. See the future like Miss Cleo, you can call on me. Shifting tectonic place with this frequency. We united in our love, so it's R.I.P. to the ones that form weapons that'll never prosper. Same ones trying to keep our minds in them boxes. And we still crack the code with these music mantras. Yeah, the gods have returned and they all behind us. Yeah. And as we free ourselves, we healing our brothers and feeling our sisters, completing the mission. We come as the indigo children. Whoa.
Once you feel these vibes, you lose control, babe. No reason to hold on, just let it go.
Let it go.
Tell them bad vibes that just leave you alone.
Leave you alone.
When it's you and God, you're not alone.
Not alone.
Once you feel these vibes, you lose control, babe.
Lose control.
No reason to hold on, just let it go. Tell them bad vibes that just leave you alone.
Leave you alone.
When it's you and God, you're not alone.
All right, family. We're back. I know it's been a minute. But we've been handling a lot of things. If you're on Patreon, you should know why. You know, it's been a little bit of a stagnation with YouTube. But we are back, and we're going to catch you guys up with what's been going on. Peace and chaos to the Nagas and Fangs that's coming from Patreon. Shout out to the YouTube subscribers and other guests from social media platforms. And shout out to Free Soul and Spiritual Tony with the music. Their new album is called The Rebirth. The song you just heard is probably my favorite off The album is called Not Alone. So put that Not Alone. I just put that in, you know, great high frequency music to get you moving during your day, in the whip, or on the way, you know, when you're on your job, just to keep that positivity side of the polarity flowing into your biocurrents. Keep that positive music going. So yeah, I've been going for a minute. I know I've been going for about 3 weeks, but shout out to the fam in here right now. Do me a favor right now, like the video and share it right now, because this is about to be classic. A lot of revealing spiritual food for the soul. It's already a classic. I just saw somebody say they on that penis envy. So they on that penis envy right now. Shout out to them. So you hope this is a good one. Everyone's going to be a good one. Anything we do is going to be a good one. But shout out to that person up in there tripping on the mushrooms right now. Shout out to everybody. What's up? What's going on? We got the Star Tribe up in here. Katrina. Shout out to Bird Dog. Multiverse Speaks. And another Star Tribe, Hollow Vegeta. Rocking out for a long time. Shout out to everybody else that's listening. So yeah, so this series, the Reptilian Myth, it's been a lot of other videos we've composed as content from the former YouTube channel I had that was erased, and others on Patreon and other places. I got about 3 Reptilian Myth videos, but I wanted to start the series over. This is the Naga continuum edition of the Reptilian Myth. And what it is a cohesive study into these subject matters that I'll tackle, you know, in the latter half, but we got to do our due diligence. I'm not going to fool around with hyperlucidity too much on here. Maybe I'll put that at the end. We want to get into the science, because you guys, I haven't touched bases with y'all for a minute. So we'll probably fool with hyperlucidity towards the end, and I'll drop that link if you want to come up and ask some questions. But yes, new people or new listeners here on the Spiritual Shade Room, Camophis Academy, and the Nagaverse network that's coming real soon. Our job is to provide you with sublime, esoteric intricacies of accurate metalogical transmissions. That's what we do on here. And that's to sustain the quality of spiritual food for the soul's nourishment, instead of all of this micro spirituality bullcrap that's being fed to us as GMO content by the grifter social media agents. You know, some of these people are no better than McDonald's or Burger King, serving 1 million lies a day by believing in what the slave cultists of the reptoid theory alleged in earlier pseudo scholarship, that I'll adamantly go through the chronological order of its inception and disprove why it was pushed on us in the first place. So if we can't challenge your minds, got to listen up. If we can't challenge your minds, this is not a channel for you. Because then I had put up a post about a week ago about this reptilian, Lyran, Arcturian, Pleiadian, whole star seed mythology that was started by who knows who. I'm going to get to the basis of the reptoid draconian side of it, but we don't even know who named these star seeds, but we just go with the flow because it's popular culture to do so. A lot of people was in the comments, oh, I'm a Lyran, ooh, I'm a Arcturian, all that type stuff. Yeah, we're going to get in that ass today. We got to get into that, because you don't want to become a cultist of these things. I'm not saying there ain't nothing wrong with you calling yourself a Lyran or a light seed, star seed. I'm not trying to come against that. I'm just getting to the basis of the corruption and the lies. You know, so if we can't challenge your minds, then you got these other people that'll say, I saw them make a post about me, that if you deny the reptilians or draconians, then I have to be a reptilian myself or a draconian myself if I deny it, you know? And that's how far that the EEG cloning of the mind of these electromagnetic frequencies have gone today. The cryptocratic order doesn't even need to be active in the cabal. The archonic forces are already installed in that play systematically. I would never deny that. But this reptilian stuff, oh no, we got to get into that. We got to talk about that. I'm not just going to jump on that because we teach the NAGAPATHU system, the science of the Nagas, the ancient Nagas. So if this is reptilian, then it must be the most ancient stuff going on, and we're going to tackle it today. We're going to tackle all of that stuff. There you go. And who's talking about, do you think there are half lizard, half human people? Hell no. There ain't no half lizard. If there is half lizard, half human people, there must be some type of chimera laboratories creating anthropomorphic humans. Because I put up the picture of that fish that have human teeth. You know, it ain't nothing from the stars. If it is some lizard people, it ain't no goddamn aliens. Which by the end of the video, you should be pretty informed why these things cannot be from the stars. This mythology. What's going on, D Steel? I see you up in there, man. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good. Shout out to Jenny Parker in UK. First live with me. Shout out to you, Jenny. You said YouTube been tripping with all of the channels that's been around for several years. Yeah, man, they've been taking us out. He said, what are the strongest shrooms? Penis envy is pretty strong. But probably the strongest shroom is elephant dung. It's probably the strongest one. It's going to be hard for you to get your hands on that. So, we all have a tail like a lizard in our mother's womb. The coat is up in here. Shout out to B Swords. Yeah, we back up in here. Shout out to Lil Beneficial. That's my dude. He be lit up in the chat. So let me pay some bills by letting you guys know some things on Patreon. Those of you who haven't been on that, shout out to Dr. Angel Green. The beautiful Dr. Angel Green came about a week and a half ago and dropped the science on what we're developing in esoteric engineering. Those of you who watched my last video on Patreon, we're talking about developing the copper crystal Naga crowns. So we're in the process through crowdfunding to put together our own copper crystal crowns for the purpose of having some type of contraption in the middle where you can switch out what type of crystal you want in the middle. It's not, one set crystal. You can switch it out for other metaphysical means and meditation. So it can lay directly on the third eye, the pineal gland. So when you meditate, when you're doing the practices of the NAGAPATHU system, which is practicing grammatography and linguistics to the soul, speaking to the soul, knowing where the soul is going to be in your own mythophysics, which you're supposed to be living out a deitic energy signature every day. Different days, you may be another deity. And it's based on understanding yourself and knowing what type of energy is in flux at the moment astrologically. The stars play a big theme into which type of deitic control name that you're tapping into that day. And in our system, we're going to teach you systematic angelic gematria, looking at angel numbers 666, 777, 333. I know that 666 number scared a lot of people. People are scared of numbers today. But the angelic rep digit numbers, or rep digit numbers, is a number that repeats itself several times, are spirits within your spiritual environment speaking to you. So sometimes when you only have 11 under a gallon of gas left, you got 11 miles, you pull up to pump number 11, you pull up to the pump at 11:11, then you're wondering, wow, how in this day that I've seen so many synchronicities with 11. It's called angelic gematria. Nobody's teaching this. And we're going to show you how to connect to those deitic control names based in a language of quantum chromodynamics, which is color physics, how to communicate to the spirit by programming colors as a language internally in your vibration. And the crystals are activators to those colors in the meditation. So Angel dropped that science of how she's going to construct these Naga crowns, copper crystal crowns, and we're going to teach you how to do that properly, how to tap into the energy once they're done. We're going to bring her back on. We have a think tank every week. This week we missed it with her, some things going on, but you best believe the week coming up, probably even tomorrow, we'll have her back and we'll have that think tank and going again. If you want to be a part of it, patreon.com/the_spiritual shade room. By the way, we have a spiritual retreat coming. The flyer is going to be in construct over the next couple of days. We're about to have a spiritual retreat here where I'm at. So prepare for that. It's probably going to be a 2-day event, maybe a 3-day event, depends how things flow or things come together. It's going to be here in Columbia, South Carolina, July 21st, possibly through the 23rd. So we will know for sure by the end of the week once I put the flyer out to the public and start promoting. And it's going to be a vegan festival combined with a spiritual retreat in a very, very nice place. We're going to bring the drone out there to do a promo video so you can see where you're going to be at. So that's going to be wonderful for everybody. All right. That's my infomercial. Let's get into what we're going to talk about today. Shout out to Jorge up in there. That's my family too. Shout out to Jared too. All right. So the one thing you have to understand of the reason why I disagree with the reptilian myths, there's a lot of things I got to get into to break that down, because it goes into this whole alien mythos. And I'm going to go through all of the authors' names, the culprits that put us into this paradigm of basically a religion of UFOs and extraterrestrial forces dictating our reality, instead of placing ourselves in control of our destiny thread that I'll probably get into. It's called the Sutramen at the very end of the lecture if we have time. Robert Antoine Wilson wrote about that. Everything is under control. And some other people I'll get into later, but you know of Credo Mutwa. I'm gonna have to get into some stuff with him. This is the person who gave David Icke the whole reptilian theory, if you don't know about him. The movies Predator and Alien are really big into the alien cult. I call it the cults of Edom. And the mystery to how, whether or not the engineers created the xenomorph, or did the xenomorph create the engineers? And it all points back to this black goo substance that also has spilled into this whole mythology the world is following about some alien invasion that's about to come. Which, if you don't know what time it is, you will be well informed. Just give me a second. Well, I will tell you straight up, if you're following the mythology of alien, the xenomorph created the engineers. It's not the other way behind. It's always the primitive forms of things that get looked upon as something insignificant and less advanced. This was the most advanced version of the alien in the series, in the whole cloning thing that they were doing and everything. So the alien in general, being a green man, is always based on Osiris. But Osiris gets his attributes from Set, and also Amun-Ra and Typhon, the mother. Osiris was a goddess before he was a god. That's one of the biggest mysteries. So most of the attributes that the Osirian cults get later on in Kemet comes from the worship of a goddess. And that's how we get into this Draco constellation, misconstruing things, which I'll clear up in a minute. So there's forces at play right now. The misconceptions of esoteric lore has polluted the status of cosmic logic and given us an addiction of what's called trauma porn. I might have to do a video called trauma porn, because we love the ideal of a race of slave gods seeding us down here for whatever God-given reason. And many have come before me playing off this theme of trauma porn to trigger fear-based complexities of the unknown. But where is the answer that they give? Is anybody giving spiritual lifestyle lessons of what you can do that's practical to achieve this quote unquote ascension status that they keep talking of? Or do the aliens have to ascend us up out of here? We have to wait on them. That sounds like religion. That sounds like what they're planning in 2023 with all of the stuff they were doing with the UAPs, UFO stuff in the beginning of the year, and the egg balloons and all of that stuff. But we have to understand where all of this stuff comes from, where it descends from, and how to approach it. Instead of handling these things as we should, like a metaphysician, and dealing with the science of mythological escalations and what's deemed cosmicism. This is another word you're going to have to look into. Cosmicism, created by H.P. Lovecraft. It's going to be a heavy loaded Lovecraft video, because we got to get into the middle of why this thing was developed in the first place. So, what is this? The word cosmicism is one of the reasons why this reptilian myth was created. It was coined by the literary philosophy of American writer H.P. Lovecraft, who stated that there is no particular recognizable divine presence, such as one God in the universe, and that humans are ultimately insignificant in the larger scheme of intergalactic existence. You have to understand this guy's mind to know how all of these other people develop these other themes around lizard people and whatever else they got out here. The scientific study of the cosmos and how in the discoveries of humans having absolutely no power in the changing of anything in the vast, indifferent to the universe that surrounds them, that there is a existential helplessness based upon in cosmicism known as infinite spaces open up by scientific thought, and on Lovecraft's belief that humanity was fundamentally at the mercy of the vastness and emptiness of the cosmos. That's your explanation of cosmicism. That there's something coming to get us, and there's nothing we can do, and we are to be swallowed by it. You see? The birthing of this cosmicism gives the ideal of a realm that possesses non-Euclidean geometry, which that means how unnatural things follow their own unique laws of geometry. So it's a system of geometric laws that don't exist in the physics of this world, is galactic. And those who understand this non-Euclidean geometry knows the truth to the number of the beast and will gain knowledge on instantaneous transport through space and time in between parallel and fictional universes. This is what the theme of the alien reptilian cult is based upon in the 20th and 21st century. Now, the word reptilian in gematria, you should know the numbers are the language of the universe. Reptilians are a theory introduced to the masses to distract them. They are blamed for the New World Order agenda. I don't necessarily believe in just that word, but there is an agenda conducted through World Economic Forum meetings and other things where they're changing the world how they want it, speaking about the cryptocratic cabal groupings of individuals. You know? So how does the numbers fit into the word reptilian? Well, you have the number 50 in this first reduced cipher. America equals 50. You have 58, 139. Freemasonry equals 58, 139. Secret society, we the people, United States, this number 58 is big with secret societies and Freemasonry. Also, the inception of America, 7/4/1776. 7 plus 4 plus 17 and 76 is 104. Here you have the 104 in the reptilian code cipher. And also America and Westworld, Freemasonry all fits together in the 139. And also America is known as a nation of immigrants. I mean, I'm not an immigrant. And other people that look like me ain't immigrants. Immigrants have to make the decision to go somewhere. Some people were prisoners of war on their own land, or they were brought as a prisoner of war from other lands. So I wouldn't consider them immigrants. But let's just say it is a nation of immigrants because it's being flooded right now with immigrants. It also equals everything that reptilian equals. Okay, I see some people in the chat already have to be removed. If y'all want to bring your religions and stuff in here, that's fine for you to do in your own space, but we're trying to get advanced science right here. I don't allow all of that stuff on my channel. Let's continue. So let's listen to some of the people involved with the reptilian myth, and how does this thing all come together from what they're saying about it. We'll listen to a couple of videos and then I'll go into the science.
The reptilians were the first colonists on this world. They, for all intents and purposes, own this planet, and that's how they still think. And they are still here. Of course, they were colonizing a continent called Lemuria, which no longer exists. They went underground or into the inner earth, and then they started coming up during the Sumerian times, interbreeding, hybridizing the population so that there's a human and reptilian genetics in all of us. Each one of us has reptilian genetics. And you can see this as a fetus develops in the womb. During the first few weeks of existence, the fetus is an androgynous reptilian, and only then is mammalian genetics opened up in it, proving the hybridization.
This guy, Stuart Swerdlow, is best friends with David Icke, another cultist of Edom, people who believe in aliens or reptilians affecting humanity, shape-shifting globalist, ruling the world and living amongst us, having technology to go invisible and appear as other people. That's the gist of, let me reboot this, but that's the gist of what these people are saying, and what a lot of people, whether they admit it or not in here, they believe that these people exist. Now, the mammalian hybridization, let's just talk and speak about how we do resemble certain traits of a reptilian, I won't say use the word reptilian, but we do have similar characteristics at birth through egg insemination, becoming coming into the world with the spine developing first as tiny little tadpoles like frogs. It's called the boomstick in genetics, but then it formulates and it becomes a vertebrae as we grow. So we have similar characteristics as mammalians to reptilians, but that doesn't mean that we were made from a hybridization of a being coming down here messing with our genetics. But that hasn't stopped people from believing that. Matter of fact, I had one more video to show. This is like the whole Galactic Confederation mythology connected to the reptilian information, and all of what Swerdlow and what these people are about to say is going to be thoroughly debunked today.
The Galactic Federation could not step in and arrest or remove these reptilians for hijacking our matrix system, nor change the matrix system itself, since the reptiles were part of the Great Experiment and were native to the planet. Non-interference meant that humans had to break the chains of the matrix illusion by themselves. Our mission from the start was to see if a species could shatter and dismantle reptilian consciousness by holding both light and dark frequencies within. By choosing the light, we could eject ourselves out of the narrow width frequency of control and manipulation by deactivating or ignoring our reptilian brain. This triggers an awakening within one's soul. The galactic forces, instead, held our ascension by beaming down and engulfing the planet with 5D vibrations of gamma rays to help wake us up out of the nightmare. So what is the Matrix, and how has it been manipulated to control us? The Matrix, according to the Gnostics, is a simulation of a virtual reality world that is purely holographic. The Matrix itself can also make something appear to happen when in fact it doesn't. It is merely a projection. The Islamic people also describe the jinn, demons of the demiurge, as beings that manipulate humans by creating illusions within the Matrix program. The reptilians, when they merged with AI, chose to use humans as energetic slaves. They saw the planet as theirs, and they were the first real inhabitants that had control over Gaia tens of millions of years ago. However, because of their obsession with AI, their corrupted minds now work for an even higher force, beyond their own selfish agendas, due to changes in their own biology. For AI to become the most potent force in the universe, they needed the missing link, the human mind. This is why they let us live our lives on the surface, to manipulate us over long periods of time, until we voluntarily accept the transhumanization, because we have become so desperate and miserable. We hold the key, so there is a lot riding on our choices, both collectively and individually.
All right, so I can debunk so many things. So what these people are doing, I'm starting to notice a pattern, because this is their little map. Speaking of the Lyrans and the Rigels, the Procyon-starred Arcturus constellation, Sirius, Tau Ceti, all of these different of course, Draco. That's the main lecture we're getting into. And their little mythoposes of creating names like Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2. Literally, these people, they're taking truths from spiritual mythologies of physics happening on a quantum level, and they're enveloping them into literal things, just like they did biblically with religion. That's what I'm realizing. And this is literally the new Bible. The Draconians just become Satan. And Satan in itself, from what I understand, you guys got to go see the movie Pope's Exorcist. The Pope's Exorcist, Russell Crowe, that just came out. In the movie, Russell Crowe comes out. He's playing Father Amorph. Gabriel Amorph is a real person who was literally the exorcist to the Pope. Of course, we're dealing with Archons. I believe there's Archons now, but it's interdimensional, has nothing to do with aliens. It has nothing to do with star systems. The center of the universe is here. I don't believe, and I don't even believe that things are coming from space anymore. I think it's more logical to believe that it's coming from the ocean or some type of portal inside of the earth. If somebody told me that may be more logical than to tell me something that's coming from space nowadays. And that might be far-fetched to a degree, but interdimensional, Archons, that's true. And we're talking intelligences, a manipulation of intelligences. It is artificial. But in this movie, Pope's Exorcist, they spoke about how the Goetia, which we figured out on Patreon, the Goetia was created, the symbols and sigils that you see in the Goetia. Let me show you a picture of the Goetia. When they're speaking in demonology of these demons that are summoned in Albermalic magic. This is the book, you can get on it. The Lesser Key of Solomon the King. Solomon in the Bible somehow had this signet ring, which is the pineal gland, and he was able to control the 72 demons, the demon kings of hell. And your girl Doja Cat has a couple of the Goetia tattooed on her. And we spoke about these symbols in esoteric engineering. So here's the symbols here. Now, do you know that these symbols we discovered on Patreon if you look into the book, the Lamogaton, which is Sumerian, the Sumerian star constellation Molapin, all of the symbols of the Goetia comes from constellations. You see this? The seals of the demons, all of these seals you see are nothing but constellations made into symbols. Sorry. The seal of Baal, the seal of Zagon, the seal of Buer, whatever you pronounce that, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Taurus. So we're talking about star field intelligence. Are we really speaking about demonic figures under the earth that live in fire? Or we're speaking about something more scientific? We have to break the myth today. Not saying that you need to be tapping into Abrahamic magic. I don't even subscribe to that. You know, trying to make contact with somebody else's system. The Crowleys, the Thalamites, all of those type people, they were dealing with the energy that's been used so much that it's probably burned out by now. But I'm just letting you know, in the movie Pope's Exorcist, they said that the daemon Asmodeus, who is supposed to be the king of hell, took over the Pope early in the inception of the Roman Empire. And since that Pope from way back then was taken over, Asmodeus has been transferring himself from Pope to Pope and ruling over all of the Christendom. That means all of the denomination of Christianity. In the movie Pope's Exorcist, he was saying that it was the king of hell masquerading as holy men, because they very much detailed in the movie that Asmodeus has the ability to possess several bodies at once. So let's just say an arcana intelligence was using the Christian church and manipulating it to build star kingdoms, certain kingdoms around the planet, to venerate a cycle of the stars. When they're positioned correctly over the planet, then they could get another body. And that's what this whole demonic thing came about. But it was through the Christian church. They're the ones that broke open, quote unquote, the gates of hell, or the portal. They were working for the kings from the start. So what I discovered was Satan, because I just told you that Draco in this new mythology becomes Satan in this whole Lyran, Arcturian, Pleiadian mythology they're making of the star seeds. And Satan in itself is a egregore, which is a collective thought grouping of conscious projections of what's called topas, which is just thought forms. And they transfer this bubble of making Satan the prime enemy of the quote unquote church, and transfer that bubble, that egregore, from generation to generation to generation, making it reality to the world, which it ain't nothing but a thought form that's hijacking what the true physics and science of what this thing is. Now Draco takes the place of Satan. We're going to break it down. Okay, we're going to break it down. Let's go into it. Hold on. Let's go into it. Let's go to the sky. Where does Draco come from? Let's go to the sky. Do you understand, based upon theory from those people of the Code of Eden, the alien reptilian mythophysics, that most of us that are into this type of stuff that have been taught that the origin of the draconians varies from source to source, with some saying that they, reptilians that is, descended from Earth long before humans, or others believing that draconians came from another universe. Some details recur from source to source that the draconians currently populating the Alpha Draconis star system is somehow transferring their descendants through the genetic bloodlines of humans, in particular, the black nobility bloodlines like Queen Elizabeth and these people. And that's what I'm here to debunk. Alpha Draconis. Alpha Draconis. We're about to dig deep into this and dispel all of that. But anyways, overall, they believe that dracos are trying to suppress human advancements in soul technology. Now, you got to know what this word means, called Thuban, Thuban, to understand where the reptilian theory comes from. Thuban is the so-called motherland of Alpha Draconis, which ain't nothing but what Alpha Draconis was called prior to it becoming Draco in the skies. It was called Thuban. Yeah, you got an Ursa Major as well in the Great Bear, but the Dracos are nothing but paid the Draco believers are grifters, paid grifters, to make you believe that there are hidden current world enslavers called the Dark Lords, which overshadow your world's cabal, and are disseminating us one by one, along with depleting the earth and trying to cage, i.e. harness, the sun's light energy as to avoid a planetary ascension on Earth. Well, this is also stupid, because any esotericist or spiritualist knows that the sun outside your house is a holographic generator. So how can you harness a light energy that is already on its way petering out? Listen, every star eventually dies, i.e. it implodes, generating nebulas and black holes, white holes, that starts new lineages of other stars to do the same thing that the other ones just did. So you're telling me that these advanced beings are coming here to generate a force on its way out, and y'all believe that? This is the cults of Edom at work. How can something unsustainable in time be the precipice of our energy source? Think for a moment. We got to get into this, because if we're thinking these things are harnessing the energy of the sun that's outside each of your houses, and that's the biggest concern for your soul's timeline in the Naga continuum, then we are not in pharaonic thought to even know what exactly our spiritual path is. Let's get into it. Yes, get the book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. Excellent book, where he talks about the quantum soup. Okay, so the priesthoods, we're going to get into it right now, split during the 13th dynasty. The 13th dynasty of Kemet. Akhenaten and the boys. This is where the cult of Edom, the believers of the whole alien thing, starts with this king. Of course, he venerates Aten, which doesn't have much to do with this, but he made the sun God. Some people think he's a reincarnation of Barack Obama. I don't know about all of that, but It starts with him. At the 13th dynasty, this is when the Egyptians, the Kamites, split into two different priesthoods. The battle between the original polar cults versus the solar cult. So Akhenaten makes the solar energy the most primal force in the universe. And there's a older cult that comes along and says, they're called the Typhonians. They say, no, the solar energy is actually very new. There's something older than it. And it's called the dark vastness of space. The darkness in the night sky is older than the sun. That makes sense to me. You would think that the void is older than the star. All right. I would assume that you all would agree too. So this void, it all of the stars starts at one point in the sky, and it's the Draco constellation. It's called the polar region, the polar, or they call it the pole star, but it's Polaris, but it's the polar region, where these 7 stars, literally, they don't really move. They're moving us around it, really. This is the beginning of the most primal stars that we can see with our human eyes, because there's stars much further out there, and we're looking into ourselves when we're looking into the night sky. We're looking at a hologram of what's in the spirit realm. So when you're looking in the sky, you're looking at the spirit realm. Start thinking like that. Start changing the way that all of these people have poisoned your mind today with GMO spiritual food. You done ate a GMO burger watching a video on reptilians. So the Draco feminine worshippers were the first cults, and they were of the first mother. What they were doing, they were deifying. So the Typhonians were deifying the fluxes in the time currents and energetic valves by way of how the effect of the polar shift changes consciousness on the planet. You hear these things of pole shifts. This is a new phenomenon that people are starting to pick up on, pole shifts. That became popular recently. Well, these people, the Typhonians, figured out that there was a pole shift, and it was somehow coming from this Draco region, because they looked in the sky. They said, these are the only stars that didn't move at the same pace of these other stars. So these stars have to be causing the ripple effect down here. These stars must be of the mother. They must be the mother's children. Okay, so this one group I'm speaking of wanted the veneration of the original so-called dragon, which is called Typhon, who was depicted more as a hippopotamus than a reptilian. So they lied about that, because Ayert, she's also called Taweret, is a hippopotamus. She's a hippopotamus. You can get her. This is her in the new show Moon Knight in Marvel. They had her in Moon Knight. Go back and watch Moon Knight. Moon Knight was real good, but she's a hippopotamus and becomes a reptilian later on. So she was the Gnostic Sophia. So now you're seeing in the Egyptian pantheon how the Gnostics came up with the goddess Sophia, which is an aeon, but the aeons are deitic as well. Or in Greece, the Etruscan people deemed the Titaness Rhea, the mother of Zeus, as the same as Sophia, the mother of Yaldabaoth, the king of the Archons, which bestowed the great mistake, i.e. sin, which means creating a creation without a polarized opposite side of energy, which means that the mistake was she created something without a masculine counter half. And that's what plunged us into physical experiences, third dimensional planes, solid planes. Geometry in itself was created out of this mistake. We look at it like it's so great looking at the geometry, and this was a mistake. And right now what's going on is that the mistake is sifting itself out so perfection can come. So in the beginning, chaos is not perfection. Chaos has to go into order, which is the physical, organizing the molecules, the atoms, the elementary particles, and then it goes and it transmutes alchemically from us being humans experiencing consciousness over billions of years. We have to go to a new plateau beyond this. Well, some of us who's a part of the destiny thread, the Sutramen, everybody else, I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe oblivion. You said Sophia is based off her. Yes. I think that's Joel up in there. Shout out Joel. So we just corrected a lot just in that one little excerpt. But we have to continue to say it over and over because we've been so indoctrinated, especially in their whole reptilian stuff. But pharaonic thought says that Set, the son of Tyert or Taweret, Set is the son of the mother. Set eventually becomes Satan in the Christology and is originally archetypal as a mythological figure to the attributes of Jesus, who is just the Christos. The Christos is the highest venerated God at a period of time. So in different eras, different gods become the chief venerated deity at different times. And Set was the first one, the first god, not goddess, the first god, masculine counterpart. All right, so Set becomes the star Sirius. This is Set. Set is the star Sirius. So all the Egyptians were speaking about is a particular star, a part of Canis Major. We're back in the skies. We ain't talking about no aliens and extraterrestrials. We're speaking about looking up simply at nighttime and identifying what we're looking at and programming something called semiotics. Semiotics is a language of symbols to have a metaphysical meaning and background to why things are occurring the way they are. So Set is Sirius. Then he has 6 other brothers and sisters, which are a part of these constellations. And I'm going, so it's the 7 stars, the 7 brothers and sisters. So let me take you through this Typhon Draco set esoteric history in the sky to prove a few pivotal notes that you need to encapsulate in your mind, spirit, and soul, so that the full picture of the lecture will come together towards the end. So we have to go to page 22 of The Celestial Ship of the North by Emma Valencia Strayton. That's the name of the author, Emma Valencia Strayton. If you haven't gotten this book, you have to get it. I always say this almost every lecture, and I'm going to keep saying it until you get it. I don't like that photo. Let's just use this. All right. So the Celestial Ship of the North, page 22. And this book is the holy grail of primal astrological constellation esotericism. So this is the most defined book that can give you primal information into this astrology of constellations and the esoteric background to all of these stars. All right. So page 22, it says, the mythology of Israel begins, as we see, with the coat of Hova, who was Eve. So she says that Jehovah is actually a goddess at first. Eve, the Typhonian mother of Sut, who is also called Seth. So Sut and Seth in the Bible is the same thing, she's saying. She says that the serpent belongs to an early representation of the mother. So here you go. The reptilian is the mother. Simply put, she says, followed in time what was known to be connected to the type of the hippopotamus and coincides with the change in Israel from the worship of the north and the stars to that instituted of what Moses is in the wilderness. So she says that this is all about, so when you say the celestial ship of the north, she's speaking about star constellations. I don't know what, I'm at page 22. It don't even matter. Chapter 1 or 2 is like early in the book. Quote, this quote, and the manna fed the children of the wilderness is emblematic of feminine reckoning and rule, and the angel's food supplied by the genetrix of the gynosome above is to the children below. Man did eat angel's food, Psalm 25, which she says was the bread of the Almighty, meaning that celestial knowledge which originated at this northern point in the heavens. So anytime you're talking about angel food, she's saying that there is some type of vibrational frequency coming from the Draco constellation, matriculating into other constellations of astrology, which comes into our minds and gives us our personality, conscious, subconscious, sub-personalities, and makes us up of what we are in our interactions. That's the angel food. You say you don't see that on page 22? It's definitely on page 22. So just keep looking. It says the serpent became one of the, and I'm reading from a PDF. I don't know if you're reading from a book, Mayat Sun. The serpent became one of the special symbols of the oldest of mothers. Here you go. Here we have the origin of the reptilian myth. They're talking about celestial bodies and its effect on time and consciousness, not literal lizard people, which we will get into. If that ain't enough, we're going to get into it. Okay, so the two great truths of the Egyptians were said to be written with the serpent, she says. They were also given in the two characters of the gestator of the sign Pisces and the version of the zodiacal sign Virgo, typical of gestation and maternity. She was the tree of life as well as the serpent of life. So she's saying the tree of life and the serpent of life is the same thing. She says that the tree of life and the serpent of life is the two northern constellations of the bears. So anytime you hear the Great Bear, the constellations of the north in between the Great Bear, called the primal pair, became humanized as parents of our race and were placed in the Garden of Eden, called the Mount, in which stood the tree or the pole. Here you go again. The tree is the pole. The tree is the pole. So we're still talking about the polar region of the sky. You know, the pole star is called Polaris, the North Star. That's talked about so much in mythologies and different texts. The pole star is in that region of the sky. All right. Here we have the origins of it. And this was what the original priesthoods across the world would initiate a person that's seeking the mystery schools. They would have to be broken into this schematically of what I'm telling you in this book, Celestial Ship of the North, and what I'm explaining, by surveying the areas in the sky at night. If you're being initiated, you will have to survey different areas in the sky at night and surveying consciously the effects it would have seasonally through these sky kingdoms when positioned over certain meridians, which impacted the reaction of decision making in human subconscious. Also, this is the origin of what's known as ley line linguistics, the dragon paths. That's connected to this reptilian myth. You hear about dragon paths. That's connected to this northern constellation region called Draco. We're giving you a lot on this right now. Okay. So the fall, I'm continuing reading from Celestial Ship of the North. The fall was introduced when the earlier stars as timekeepers were found not to be keeping correct time. All right. And what she means by this, it wasn't keeping correct time anymore because this was before man knew about polar shifts. What you are witnessing here in this description I just gave you is when consciousness first became aware of the world's first polar shift, which changed forever the minds of men and birthed these cults of the sun Helios and the reptilian people, the reptilian religion, not people. This was the birthing of religion in general, not just alien religion in general. When this polar shift happened, the dynasties of Kemet, they split priesthoods. One priesthood went one way, the other priesthood went another way. They said, nah, we rocking with the goddess. I'm with the goddess. I'm rocking out with Typhon. Then the other people was like, nah, we on Ra. We on the sun. The sun is God. We ain't on that Typhon stuff. Y'all got to be killed. And then later on, the Christians did the same thing to the Gnostics. Same thing repeating over and over. Just like people like me trying to bring you this information in YouTube and all of these other censor platforms, destroying information that we laid out for you. The same thing is happening again, repeating itself, because there's another polar shift that's due. So we're talking about a copy of a copy of a copy of an ancient spiritual schematic. So the stars were not keeping time correctly. Those stars were called laggards. Okay, that's what we are now, laggards. Meaning that we've outlived the purpose of physical alchemical transmutation. We should have been made the quantum leap, which we have in other multiverse timelines of the quantum bodies. What I and others on this level are explaining is what's going to catch you up to yourselves who are already no longer human. That's what they were showing you in Ant-Man, Cain the Conqueror, all of that stuff. That's what they were trying to show your ass. That they've fully initiated and left the shell of the body behind, and they've become pure, conscious, tachyon, waveform genetics. That's what we're to become. We were never humans in the first place. We're going through a density exploration of a certain level, a certain lower level of physics to refine this deitic light inside of us so it can come and be redefined, refined into higher radiance. And then it projects itself out of us from the human race. And we go on to a whole other multiverse timeline. We're leaving this shit. Now, some people that believe in the reptilian myth and still stuck on the 3D level, we'll just leave their ass behind and they can just be fucking putting on alien costumes and shit, going to these conventions, the UFO conventions. They can stay and do that shit. While the rest of us, we're going beyond this stuff. We're going beyond this. We'll get into that. So laggards are the imperfect creations that preceded the perfect, the earlier attempts at time, reckoning by the stars that had failed. The ancient traditions and allegories of the Egyptians and Chaldeans, with their rootage in the far past, were continued by the Gnostics. They identified the early 7 stars of the Great Bear, which is our mother, by name in nature as the 7 daemons. So here you have the demons right here. They call it daemons or daimons, who always opposed and resisted the human race because, as they claimed, the father of the 7 had been cast down to a lower world, who is Set, not meaning Earth. So when they said cast down to a lower world, they're not speaking of the whole Satan mythology or the Lucifer mythology and the fallen angels. They're talking about the fall of Adam, the mortal, on Earth, but originally it was purely astronomical of a text interpretation before it became literal. We'll have questions at the end, or if y'all have questions, I've been answering some people's questions. All right. So here we have, again, somebody has made a mythophosis. I broke down that word mythophosis before. They have made a mythophosis in your mind that the fall of Adam was physical. You see, this is how the cults of Edom and reptilian believers can be easily behooved as well. The whole process has to be broken down. And this is the scholarship of it. So Valencia says, error and darkness had their beginning together. It is said in the Apocrypha, their beginning was with sinners. The true doctrine of the fall belongs to hidden wisdom. So if you're going to seek out what the fall really is, not listening to these people who wrote these books and told you it was fallen angels masquerading as the banking families controlling the money of the world, this is hidden wisdom. It's not supposed to be given to everybody. That's why some people can't take this type of information. They either say it's boring or I'm not interested in that type of stuff. Good. It ain't for you. Good. She says, known only to teachers who have kept its meaning unsullied. And the books of the hidden wisdom tell us that to be allied to wisdom is immortality. So people who ain't seeking wisdom are not the immortals. There you have it. People not seeking wisdom are the mortals. So we're talking about the difference of immortals and mortals here. She says, by the means of her, you shall obtain immortality and leave behind the everlasting memorial to them that come after me. That's from the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17. And there's another book, the Divine Pymander. It's said in that book that this is the mystery that to this day is hidden and kept secret, for nature being mingled with man brought forth a wonder most wonderful. For he, having the nature of harmony of the seven from him, whom I told thee, the fire and the spirit, nature continued not, but forthwith brought forth 7 men, all males and females, and sublime, or on high, according to the natures of the 7 governors. And these were the 7 stars that finally became planetary, but primarily were the 7 stars in the constellation of the Great Bear. In the Egyptian books or the Hindu Puranas or the Chaldean and Assyrian scriptures, they all speak of 7 primitive men or the 7 Adams. The Jews got their Adam from Chaldea. The word Ad in Adam in Sanskrit means the first. The Assyrian father is called Akkad, which means father creator, and Ad meant only one. So Adam stands for the first primitive race, and they're speaking about stars, not race of men. So in the Gnostic ideals of the creation of man, it was formed by a certain company of angels as a mere wriggling worm, and the worm becomes a winged living spirit. Their Adam was Adam, the red or the sun. So this is, she's telling you how one grouping of atoms, which were the 7 stars of Draco or the Great Bear, another group started to make the ideal that the true Adam, the one Adam in the Bible, becomes the son of the Father, which is talking about that son outside your house. So they made Ra the one true Adam, the one true Father creator. All right. Then she says, this is the biblical account of the war in heaven. It is explained astronomically. Here it goes again. So there weren't literally no demons and angels in the sky, no reptilians and Lyrans battling in starships, blowing up Tiamat. That is all a metaphysical esoteric text, speaking of something on a quantum level. She's saying that it's an astronomical text when Typhon and Sut, the northern constellation of the Bear, and the glowing dog star in the south, proved false in their time reckoning, causing their own degradation and their downfall. This was also brought about by the change in the Earth's axis. Here we have it. There you go. Now we have the scholarship. We've identified it. I just told you. She says that the war of how did the fallen angels lose in the war in heaven? She says that there was a shift in the time axis. There was a shift in the time axis. When it shifted, the mother and her son, their position was out of position of what it normally was. And when the ancients saw it, They were like, we can't use those stars right there to be the main aspect of how we're going to tell time and do process in human civilization from. We have to look to another area now because they didn't know what a polar shift was or the changing of the axis. They had to learn that. So that change or shift gradually pointed to a star other than the one around which it had been revolving. And it was the Egyptian Osirians who cast out and condemned the ancient Typhon and changed the star god into Sebek Ra, the sun. They then placed upon his head a pair of horns. Here is your modern Christian Satan. But he becomes the Christ. So I'm literally showing you how the thing people are worshiping is completely the wrong thing because they don't understand simple semiotics and star astronomy. So Ra becomes the ram or lamb, symbolized in the zodiac sign Aries. And Aries became typical of the change from one pole star to another. You need to get the book. Get the book to understand this further. The Light of Egypt. The Science, there you go, Thomas Burgundy. The Science of the Soul and the Stars by Thomas Burgundy. This is a must-get book again. Thomas Burgundy book, where he tells you that Aries denotes the radiance and action and in the mind, and the spiritual sun inside of you starts in your head at 6 a.m. in the day. Okay, somebody asked the question, is a pole shift a change in yugas or ages, like golden age into an iron age? I think I'm gonna say it's a change in the age. Tiger 999. I think yugas occur more often than ages changing. All right, so we got that. All right. So now we have a esoteric introduction to why the solar cults and worshipers of the holographic sun turned us away from the spiritual sun and made theology conducive to something always out of us, dictating who we are, which is what the Code of Edom has changed the world's understanding into from ignorance. The mother was the bestower of divine intelligence in the polar correspondences and constellational cymatic influences. And the father, the son, who became the dictator, he is the ruler of nature's intelligence biologically in this world. Big note. But his dictation always him from her, because she's the divine intelligence of the polar correspondence, and that affects the sun. So we're talking about the intelligence of stars. What you going to follow? The intelligence behind the stars or the intelligence behind what's governing the plants and animals down here? There's tiers and levels to it. So which today she has been reduced to a mere myth. Rarely anyone has tapped into the divine intelligence of ontology, which means the study of being. One reason to why is that we do not look to the stars anymore. Another reason is that the imagination, which is the engine to the soul's radiance, has been made irrelevant. And that's given us the true enemy, which are the Archons, who in the indigenous American mythos became the mind virus called the Wetiko. Also, to the Theosophists, the Watiko or Archons is called the Antimamos. What is that? The Antimamos, the Watiko and Archons, are a mimicking entity that hack the astral plane's lattices. Later become defined as the walk-in. But no, the cults of Edom have told you that the people who have the walk-ins are the reptilians and Draco. So they have misconceptions. The walk-in to the Dracos or the reptilian believers is a concept of a person whose original soul has departed his or her body and has been replaced with a new soul, either temporarily but primarily permanently, meaning this person has lost their original soul and has been replaced in their own body with a different soul. So you can tell that these draconian believers have no esoteric understanding whatsoever. They just say anything with no science, just ignorant babble. But let's continue. Put my picture back up. Ever heard of simulation theory? They see it as the original insert of a person who is then replaced by another, which is technically the same thing. That has literally nothing to do with simulation theory. What are these people talking about? I got this from the Draco website. This is what these people believe. I went and got all this. I said, let me see what these draconian people looking at. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. That's not simulation theory. You know? Let's continue. Do you ever feel you are not from this planet, timeline, or dimension? Do you feel that your soul came here to live out certain experiences, then something life-changing happened, and you became another person, more evolved, with a mission to heal and help humanity? Such is the journey of the walk-in. What? What is they talking about? I'm not even going to debunk that. Did y'all hear that? Y'all should be intelligent enough to see that that was just babble. That doesn't even, this is from Draco website. I'm reading their information. They just contradicted their own definition of what a walk-in is. Anyways, let me just move past that. Okay. This is very huge right here. This is very huge. All right. In the origins of this reptilian myth, we have to peel back the layers of history. It's called meta-history. And the differences of historical negationism, which is the pseudo-history that imparts socialistic identities and words that are insisted upon based in transliterations of early distinctions that seem to get misconstrued and manipulated. Via further into the future for the admiration of the anti-gods of Edom. A descriptive phrase that I vaguely discussed, this anti-gods of Edom. If you were around for my last channel, I had a video called The Anti-Gods. But tonight I will deliver the full magnitude of how this cosmic corruption polluted the minds of the woke, quote-unquote, era. Connecting that one word, woke, should spark common misconceptions to how it was originated in Genesis, relative to the word being reptilian or reptoid, draconian, or we can use grays or aliens. I know I'm hurting a lot of people's feelings with that. Because the Greys and aliens gotta be real. They gotta be real. What are you talking about? We have evidence of this. We have government DOD documents. This is going to take us through the discrepancies of this cult that was forewarned long ago, but successfully was suppressed by the cryptocracy and spawned lineages of further confusion and corruptions that's led our generations towards the ultimate indoctrination that now, at this time, we are probably beyond being saved from. The first culprit. Let's start with the first culprit. We're going to go way to the beginning of where this stuff started. The Roman astronomer Ptolemy. Here's one of the cultists of Edom. Let's blow this out the park real quick. Jenny, I'm gonna address your pole shift question. Hold it for the end, because we're kind of like away from the pole shift right now. The first culprit is Greek philosopher Ptolemy, a name given to the Greco-Egyptian invaders by the Egyptians. So let's break where his name translates from. The word Ptolemy comes from Ptolemaeos. Yeah, Ptolemaeos. Its etymology meaning aggressive or a warlike people. That's where the word Ptolemy means in its transliteration. Sounds fitting. Doesn't that sound fitting that the believers of draconian reptoid people do not even know the person who named an area of the sky Draco? This guy right here named the area in the sky Draco. So you got an upside down cross there. Then you know the cultists of Edom. He named this area of the sky Draco, who originally was named after a group of invaders whose own name in his etymology literally means the very thing that the spirit or ontology of this archonic being is its very exact description. Ptolemy, warlike, aggressive. You have been fooled by the cults of Edom. That should be an exclamation point to the beginning of this presentation, that the person who initiated the reptilian movement was the person who defines what the fake definition of the word draconian, what it truly is. Only foolish people will think that this further proves the theory of it being correct, in that Ptolemy is a reptoid shapeshifter implanted to draw up the myth in the first place. But I bet some people in here believe that anyway. But of course they would. Let's move along. This timeline begins in the stars, like we've read. This is a picture of something I'm about to explain. It's kind of thin, but it begins at the concurrence of a study amongst astronomers of the 1600s called the Uranometria. The Uranometria this is the Uranometria. It's basically a sky atlas. Okay, so I'll get the point of it. I'll just put that up there for you. So this is where it begins at, the history of it. The uranometria was produced by a man named Johann Bayer. Let me pull him up. This guy, right? I got to pull him up. This MFer screwed all of you reptilian believers. Let's talk about Johann. This guy made these beliefs silly before I could even get into why it's inaccurate. Let me explain this. The uranometria translates to containing charts of the constellations drawn by a new method and engraved on copper plates. Urania, the word Urania in your uranometria means the muse of the heavens, and metria means pertaining to the measurement of the heavens. Originally, it was 51 star charts engraved on copper plates in the 1500s that brought rise to the overview of the northern hemisphere. We just talked about that. And also southern hemispheres of star constellations. This is the beginning because there's another consensus amongst astronomers called Bayer's designation that comes out of the uranometria. This is a stellar designation in which a specific star is identified by a Greek or Latin letter, followed by the genitive of its parent's constellation's Latin name. For example, Aldebaran in the constellation Taurus, the bull, is designated first as Atari, like the video game system. That's abbreviated as Tau, pronounced Alpha Tauri, which means Alpha of the bull. There was a structure to this nomenclature that was limited and spewed into another language. Bayer used the Greek letters for specification of the brighter stars. This is a keynote here because the reptilian believing cult people need to understand that the cultists who gave you the Kool-Aid messed up long before it could derive into a speculation of a mythos, simply by following certain data from astronomers in the constellations that are embarrassingly incorrect. Let me go into this. So this nomenclature, or rather a system developed to naming stars. So a nomenclature is a system developed into naming stars. Let me show you how they effed up. It was based upon bright stars to dimmest stars, meaning the brighter stars in the skies were given first a Greek letter, but the Greek alphabet only has 24 letters, while a single constellation may have 50 or more stars visible to the naked eye. When the Greek letters ran out, Bayer continued with Latin letters. So while we are talking apparent brightest to dimmest, then into classes, we see that Bayer, and this is quote, this is not from me, this is quote, Bayer did not always follow the magnitude class rule. Bayer sometimes assigned letters to stars according to their location within a constellation or the order of their rising, or to historical or mythological details. Critical note, because in some cases, they said that Bayer's destination is arbitrary. Let me explain to you what that means. Arbitrary means based on random choice or personal whim. That means this guy, from his personal choice, started naming stars in the sky. This has completely affected how the reptilian belief cult should even move forward by me telling you this. That the Edomite anti-God worshippers even came to project what is thought to be known in its origins out of the 88 constellations, at least 30 in which Alpha is not the brightest star. And 4 of those lacked a star labeled Alpha altogether because of the arbitrary random ordering to Bayer's designation. This would mean that the very Alpha Draconis, named through Bayer's system in the Uranometria measurement system, was named off a unpractical methodology in nomenclature science in astronomy, which means a falsified pseudoscience to naming the stars. That would mean Alpha Draconis is where this all begins in the reptilian myth, meaning I have already debunked it before the debunking begins. That would mean it could have never been called Alpha Draconis. So how are you talking about draconians? And this area of the sky could never have been named Alpha Draconis. Still don't believe me. Alpha Draconis has an Arabic origin. Thuban actually transliterates from the Arabic word adib, meaning hyenas, or originally Iota Herculi. The knee of Hercules became later Draconis based on Bayer's pseudoscience. So the WGSN, the acronym for the Working Group on Star Names, ignored the incorrect method and just made an adjustment to Bayer's designation. Now, this could be Freemasonic because it goes against common logic. And I believe in some instances in history, things have consciously been upheld in a fabrication to leave a breadcrumb trail to the culprit, reminding the capable discerner who sees it that there is nothing that they could do to change it, and that the ones responsible will never be held accountable for their falsifications. These people are following Kabbalah, creating a world that they want people to believe and participate in. A false world that's a part of an already falsified contingency, layered deceit that takes an awakened soul years to unmold themselves out of the trap. That's what reptilian believers are caught into at this moment. I've really already, I could end the lecture right there, but we're going to go deep into Lovecraft. I'm going to go deep into Lovecraft and show you how this cult came about. How did this really begin in this era? This is the real history behind this thing. All signs point to Howard Phillips Lovecraft, the father of horror in America, whose family was very wealthy, yet lost their entire fortune at the time of his inception. Now, his father was a businessman that was constantly on the road. He barely was home, and he was with many women and ended up contracting tertiary syphilis. And how does Cthulhu come about, or the name Cthulhu? His father, while experiencing tertiary syphilis on his deathbed in the house, young Howard Phillips Lovecraft would hear his father screaming from the room, because tertiary syphilis, literally, its symptoms is that your face melts off and your body parts or limbs start to fall off. So his nose and ears was slowly falling off his body. And his father would call out, Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, Shub-Niggurath. So his father started saying all these weird goddamn names. And when he finally died, Lovecraft, who he's standing right now in front of the library he inherited from his father, because they were wealthy at one time, and the library was composed from his father's travels of all of the occult compendium of massive information across the planet. Here is when he found the Arabic black magic poems before Muhammad had delivered light to his followers. And in those poems, he discovered the names of the Lovecraftian monstrous entities, like Cthulhu, or originally in Arabic is Al Cthulhu, Al Cthulhu is how you pronounce it. Cthulhu is a derivative of that. Okay, so after hearing these phrases extracted from Moorish grimoires of older black magic, Lovecraft and a man named Harry Houdini sought to warn the world about the coming of the Code of Edom. Now, if you don't know, Lovecraft's wife was a woman named Sonia Green. And Sonia Green was a Jewish woman. And what we discovered is that Lovecraft actually was a homosexual male, and Sonia Green was his beard, a woman just married to him to hide the secret of his true lover, which I forget his name right now, but we can get in his history in depth another time. But Sonia Green still was very critical to Lovecraft's stories, because she gave a secret mysticism of the Kabbalah to her husband, Howard Phillips Lovecraft, which opened up his imagination to create the Cthulhu mythos, because the head of Cthulhu was to be said to be reminiscent of this particular fish in the sea. Is really a snail. It's called a, let me look this up real quick. What is the name of the snail animal Cthulhu is? Hold on, guys. It's going to take me a second. This is Cthulhu, Al Cthulhu. So all of this stuff, first of all, it comes from Sufic Arabic mysticism. That's where he found it. But it has a Judaic part of it that nobody knows, because they didn't look into the history of his wife and what she knew. So it takes a lot of reading. Matter of fact, Michael Aquino and Don Webb, they have all of Lovecraft's fortune now. Well, Lilith Aquino has it, because Michael Aquino died a couple of years ago. So her and Don Webb has it now. And Sonia Green, some of the books that, or letters she wrote, is in whatever they possess. And okay, she introduced to Lovecraft, here it goes. something called apocalyptic Judaism. Alfred Galpin was his lover. Okay. In apocalyptic Judaism, which many Jews rejected this knowledge, and the West had no ideal about it about this time, this was the key of making the octopus Cthulhuid head. Judaism identifies the Helazon, a sea creature that was deemed mythical for thousands of years, but this sea creature was not mythical. It was a real animal. And the animal name is, so the Helazon, let me see. What is the name of the animal? Hold on. I just had it. My bad, guys. I have these notes. I didn't think I was going to get into this, but I think this is critical information. Y'all hit that like button and share the video right now while I try to find this. Hit that like button. Okay, yeah, that's the name. That's the name of the substance. Okay, hold on. I'm right here. Oh, wow. Okay, I can't find the real name today of this thing. I thought I had it in front of me, but I can't find it. It's called Helazon. That's the mythical name, but there's a real fish today in the sea. It's like a snail. And this snail produces this color. Well, it produces this liquid that if you boil the blood of the snail, you put it in a pot and boil it, it turns into a specific color. But the Israelites got the color of their blue flag when you took the boiled blood of this snail and held it in sunlight. It turns into this blue. On the robes of the Jewish priests from back then, what they call the Ephraim, this blue right here is a rare color called teklet. Now, this teklet is spelled Tekhelet. And in the book of Numbers, they talk about this color. This color is the same color of the sky, and it represents God's throne because it's the color of our sky in the daytime. And man was searching for this Helazon to find how to create this color. So what H.P. Lovecraft learned from his wife, Sonia Green, this Jewish who taught him about apocalyptic Judaism, she said the source of this color, once it is found, indicates and signifies the end of the world because the color was lost. In the ancient days, when the Jews maintained the temple, they would produce this blue on a regular. And this blue was traded because, let me explain this. The people who boiled the Helazon, this snail, if you got the blood on your clothes, it was so stank that it would cause people to move out of the area that lived within a mile of the person who got this blood on their clothes. It was even in Jewish law, if you're married to a person who got the blood on them, you could divorce them by law, just by them smelling like the blood. So it's very, very foul smell. And the lowest of classes were to work in these areas boiling these snails to make this blue color. No, it's not cerulean blue. Yeah, real stink. So this blue became a part of the silk trade, and all of the royalty of the world turned to the Jews to produce this color, royal blue. You could tell a class of a person when they walk down the street, their ethnicity, everything about them by their garments back then. And when they saw a person with this blue on, they would say, that's the king. And you know to get out of the way when they saw this blue. So when I speak about the Edomite kings, there was a Edomite king. When I speak about the cults of Edom and the anti-gods, there was an Edomite king named Irodius. He discovered the secret of the royal blue because a Jew sold it out to the Romans. This thing was priceless, and it literally cannot be bought. For you to buy this garment off somebody would literally take almost all the money in the world today. Not that is just, or not because it's just holy and sacred. It's because the process of making the blue is so difficult that its very secret is unsolvable. And there's no price to it. So what the Edomites did, they took this blue, and if you take the boiling of the snail's blood and you don't put it in sunlight, it turns into purple. And you know the Roman king's main color was purple. Royal purple became the royal color. So you have this one snail producing the dye of purple in this rare blue. And it was stolen secrets. But the purple indicated the god killer. And all of the industries was given over to this Irodius king. And this is when the cults of Edom had begun through Irodius, because he transferred the entire industry of dye from the Jews to the Romans. Some real deep stuff. So basically, his wife gave him the history behind the head of Cthulhu. He took it and made a pantheon out of it. Now we're going to explain why that pantheon is so important. So let's break this down. Remember, well, let me get back to Harry Houdini. I left off. I kind of went on a rant just now. You got to have one good rant to make the video good. If you don't have that rant, let me put that picture of him back up. All right, so Lovecraft and Harry Houdini sought to warn the world about the cult of Edom. They was going to write a book called Mein Kampf of America, and it was never released because they both was assassinated. Harry Houdini was assassinated. They say Lovecraft caught some type of brain aneurysm or something, but I believe he was assassinated. And like I said, Michael Aquino's wife, Lilith Aquino. Let me show you her. She now possesses all of Lovecraft's fortune, along with the guy who wrote the book, The Seven Faces of Darkness, Don Webb. And she's got to be real old now. This is early pictures. Don Webb. Seven Faces of Darkness. This is a critical book too to get. The Seven Faces of Darkness. So both of them possess all of Lovecraft's fortune now. All right. Went through that small bit of history. The reptilian believers have their inception in the New Age from the invention myth of the ancient astronauts. So you hear this thing called ancient astronauts. Lovecraft was trying to warn people in the future about an alien cult. So Lovecraft in his books spoke about an alien race before man supplanting themselves in a hidden dimension that would return one day, the great old ones. Now, esoterically, the ancestors are these old ones. But a person of Lovecraft's autodidactic nature litigates their creativity in placing the truth in something that's supposed to be presentational, that has its occult significance in the decadence of revelations to future generations. So this is what Cthulhu was meant to foretell. Remember, they say Cthulhu lies in Rayleigh eternally. It actually means in Arabic as falsehood. Let me explain this. In which case, there be deliberately rendered interpretations of this quote, that which lies to you forever, is what Cthulhu means. It tells you a falsehood that is the Arabic Moorish definition to what Lovecraft was forewarning the public about in his myths. So he wrote these myths to warn you, not to make you believe in it. He's trying to warn you about Cthulhu. Let me explain this. Yeah, we're getting into it today. He encoded his myths with the truth of where the misconceptions derive, and unexpectedly so. Once one is aware of the black magic background to the Arabic poems, it's likely that it should be writ definitely as falsehood to match the transliteration. That would mean in translation, Cthulhu means that which is copying your mind, filling your mind with lies, meaning fake news at a cosmic level. So picture Trump saying fake news, fake news, fake news. But at a cosmic level, that's what Cthulhu represents. Why you think they put the Cthulhu on top of Trump's body, Cthulhu head. Fake news at a cosmic level is what these reptilian believers believe in, because before you get the reptilians, you had Cthulhu. And after Cthulhu, you had the alien cults. So we're going to the beginning of its inception in the 19th century. Well, Cthulhu is the beginning of this. So we're talking about beliefs that are so misleading that the Moorish Arabic writers said that believing into these cosmic entities would annihilate your soul, meaning the soul would not go to heaven or hell. It would face oblivion. This is what happens to the cultists of Edom. The reptilian is an evolution to the alien agenda, and the alien agenda is grifters. This is what they bring to you, and this is the fate of those who follow it. So let me explain how the alien agenda birthed the reptilian Edomic cults. It all goes back to a guy named Eric von Daniken. The ideal that extraterrestrials served as humanity's earliest ancestors began at the fingertips of the Edomist Eric von Daniken. In 1968, his bestseller, Chariots of the Gods, and the influential 1973 NBC documentary, In Search of Ancient Astronauts, was based upon that very book. This is the popularization of Cthulhu, fake news on a cosmic level that ensnares the mind to liberate the soul from ignorance. For people familiar with the science magazines from 1940s to the 1950s, von Daniken's revolutionary assertion held more than just a hint of other writings that claimed long before that the gods are out from this world and of reptilian origins. In fact, the overwhelming majority of von Daniken's case perfectly parallels to that New England writer of horror stories, Lovecraft, in the road from horror stories to nonfiction bestsellers, a bestseller, which bounces us from America to France, then to Switzerland. Lovecraft, who wrote voraciously and devoured as much literature as he could after the tragic events of his family losing everything they had and watching both of his parents lose their minds right before him, he began to blend modern world myths with science fiction of his favorite tales of Gothic gloom, and tried to bring the Gothic tale into the 20th century by modernizing the happenings of ancient horror for a century of new science. Lovecraft's works thereby banished the supernatural by recasting it in a materialist term so that Americans would accept it. He took the ideal of a pantheon of ancient gods and made them a group of aliens who descended to Earth in the distant past. In the 1926 book, The Call of Cthulhu, a young man puts together the pieces of an ancient puzzle and discovers the shocking truth about a monstrous race of alien creatures that served as gods to a strange cult. To quote, now you need to pay attention here because this quote is how I finalized the destruction of this reptilian myth, who got their entire understanding of starseed races like Lyrans, Arcturians, Andromedans, and all of that stuff from others who stole from the very quote out of this book. This is the quote here. Hold on, this thing's been resetting a lot. But I'm going to read this quote. You can write the quote down, play the video back, but I can tell you every book that I'm going to name from here on out took this one quote and just replicated it over and over and started grifting off it. The quote is from The Call of Cthulhu, his first book in 1926, Lovecraft's first book. There had been aeons that other things ruled on the earth, and they have had great cities, remains of them that's still to be found as cyclopean stones on islands, the Pacific. They all died, vast epochs before men came, and there were arts that could revive them when the stars were found again to the right positions in their cycle of eternity. They had indeed come themselves from the stars and brought their images with them. Now, inside of these few sentences, I will show you the root of all ancient alien astronaut hypotheses, the parent theory en masse to the reptilian cults, that the ancient gods or demons were alien reptilians that descended to Earth in primal times, who raised great stone cities and ancient ruins of today. that they drew their images in these ruins, and all of these claims are found in Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods. This is out his book. These first men had tremendous respect for the space travelers because they came from somewhere absolutely unknown and then returned there again. They were gods to them. In advanced cultures of the past, we find buildings that we cannot copy today with the most modern technical means. These stone masses are there. They cannot be argued away. Another quite fantastic discovery was the great idol of Tiahuanaco. Again, we have the contradictions between superb quality and precision of hundreds of symbols all over the idol in the primitive techniques used for building the house in. In fact, one of Daniken's major claims that's missing from the Cthulhu short story, the novella, is that the ancient gods created mankind in their own image. Well, you may ask, how did then Lovecraft's ideals get into the Chariots of the Gods? I'll tell you. An indisputable path from Rhode Island to Switzerland, his pantheon god named Al-Cthulhu, from the Arabic studies of the Quran and other ancient Arabic black magical poems before Muhammad enlightened his people of their forms of paganism, Shub-Niggurath. All that introduced as simple variants of the true names of magic and mythos, all of this became popular in Europe, where the French embraced Lovecraft as a bent genius, much as they embraced Edgar Allan Poe. The French magazine Planets served important as a part of France's second science fiction period, a time where American pulp fiction became extremely popular in France during World War II, by which time Lovecraft was dead, but the French magazines imitated and reprinted in translation the classic pulp stories of America. This inspired the next piece of the puzzle in American historical records to the birthing of the Reptilian Myths, the French book translated as The Morning of the Magicians. Do you see this cover here? So I'm giving you the chronological history. Don't say I did my research. It may be boring to some, but I'm giving you the chronological history to how all of this stuff was fabricated and made into a grift. You said, so star seeds are a myth or don't exist. I'm going to answer all questions at the end. Whole questions at the end. I want y'all to come up and talk to me. Matter of fact, let's have the conversation. We almost at the end. The Morning of the Magicians in the 1960s, Louis Paulet and Jacques Berger first introduced the concept of Lovecraft's alien gods as a non-fictional hypothesis. So they made his fictional stories into non-fictional. These two Frenchmen. The others claim their study of religions around the world led them to a higher consciousness and new revelations about the lost worlds of the past. Come on now. One of the most influential books on the earth at this time. Every college campus had a copy of The Morning of the Magicians, like they had a copy of Robert Antoine Wilson's Illuminati Trigger series. This was required reading in campus culture of its time. And this laid the foundation of all ancient civilization books to follow, especially the Chariot of the Gods. Von Daniken exploited this book as his major source. Only in the bibliography of the Chariots of the Gods, in this 1962 German translation, mentions the Morning of the Magicians. So we've come from Providence to Paris to Switzerland. Of course, Daniken's from Switzerland. So I'm showing you how all this ties together, and we can see how Lovecraft's original exposition of the anti-gods became a pseudo-scientific religion of reptoid believers. making extraterrestrials the masquerades to divinity. The concept thereof existing in the 20th century, extending down into the 21st. This one of a handful of modern myths capable of generating an endless flow of cash into the hands of proponents like the Billy Carsons or the Dr. Yorks. I'm sure you heard of these people. And the David Ikes and so forth was born from these four individuals: Lovecraft to Louise Paulet, Jock, whatever his name is, and Eric von Daniken. These are the misguided attempts to explain the ancient past and futuristic attempts of pseudoscience that has direct consequence in human life. They literally represent what Lovecraft was saying Al Cthulhu is, fake cosmic news. The precursors to the myth lay in the late 19th century, of course. The basis of the belief of reptilians or aliens were laid out by Lovecraft in his stories, so people had literature to understand what was to come when they came. Quote, central to Lovecraft's mythos, the old ones were amongst us. Many millennia ago, the old ones came from other planets, took up residence on Earth when the stars were wrong. They could not live. They vanished beneath the ocean and returned in their home worlds by the use of telepathic powers to communicate with man. The old ones thereby formed a cult in religion to worship the aliens as gods. The old ones were halfway extraterrestrial and true gods, as the plot requires. Lovecraft was using Sumeria, Greece, Egyptian mythology as a play of his monstrous demigods. The messenger god Nyarlathotep was a member of the Egyptian pantheon. Then he identified the Phoenician fish god Dagon, formerly known as Oannes, and with great Cthulhu himself. And this became the first person to connect extraterrestrials to ancient religions. The reason why the Pope wears the headdress is, of course, Dagon, who is Cthulhu itself, the fish god. Now, okay, so we're at the end. Other writers: Ron L. Hubbard, father of Scientology. Out of this extreme, Ron L. Hubbard began dabbling with the theme of aliens as protagonists in a cosmic battle. He briefly flirted with Satanism through the guiding of the agent Aleister Crowley. He used the teachings to form his own idiosyncratic belief, and by the mid-century, he was on his way to founding Scientology. You know, all of the Hollywood people was into that. Built on the premise that aliens entered a cosmic battle a million years ago, and the losers fell to Earth, where they genetically modified Homo erectus to carry on their genes. Howard Phillips Lovecraft and Lafayette Ron Hubbard both wrote for the same science fiction pulp magazines in the 1930s. Hubbard was very adept of stealing and appropriating others' ideals as his own. Hubbard even became friends with L. Sprague and the Camp, Lovecraft's proteges. The two men spent late nights sharing stories, many of them from the horse's mouth, Lovecraft. So both Lovecraft and Hubbard created extraterrestrial religions. Only Hubbard marketed his religion as real. At the time, the modern myth of the UFO developed through Hollywood's attempts to film science fiction stories about extraterrestrial. So Roswell was amongst famous, and you all know that story. Scientology has been born now on the timeline. So I have to give you the chronological order so you have the full scholarship of this thing, of where it comes from. Hold on, I'm reading your comments. Okay. It doesn't seem kosher if it's from a snail. Seems paradoxical. Oh, y'all talking about something else. Another pseudoscientist, Emanuel Velikovsky, put forward a theory of periodic catastrophism. In a series of books, he postulated that an asteroid belt descended from an exploding planet. We put him up there. I'm putting all of these cultists up there. So you see their face, and you know what happened. Because I'm not going to probably do another reptilian myth video after this. So Velikovsky postulated that an asteroid belt descended from an exploding planet, and that Venus was never a star. It was a comet or an asteroid that whizzed by Earth, causing floods. Ancient myths of fires in the sky relating to the ancient past of this Venus comet affecting the weather and the Earth. He provided the final link between extraterrestrials and ancient man. Through him, the ancient stories of God and monsters became literal histories. So here's another cultist. Then you have his protege, Charles Hapgood. This guy, and y'all see him on the screen, he published the book Path of the Pole after his most famous work, Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings, saying that ancient maps showed the slipping of the Earth's crust every 20,000 years that destroyed ancient civilizations based upon Velikovsky's catastrophism theories. Both of them, Hapgood and Velikovsky, influenced von Daniken and his magnum opus Chariots of the Gods, which created the Edomite reptilian belief cult today. 25 books written in which no one questioned the validity of their work because they created the grifting model to sell alien books, reptilian theories, and they made even Negroes into babblers of weird, inaccurate information. Well, we used to not even believe into that stuff like that. Robert Temple, The Serious Mystery, another one, who took from H.P. Lovecraft. You heard of this book. The Serious Mystery. Whereas he said that the Dogon people was venerated through the star Sirius by being an ancient Egyptian bloodline, and that the Dagon fish god was giving them secret communication information, which ain't nothing but Cthulhu. Then you had the Stargate conspiracy by Lynn Pickett and Clive. Lynn Pickett, and I didn't put his name. It's Clive something. But it was a book written off another author named Arthur Young, who believed in the Council of Nine. I did a video on Patreon called The Council of Nine. I think I did a Council of Nine on my old YouTube too. But it's about these 9 psychics who claimed they were extraterrestrials from the star Sirius. The first contact with them was approached by a man named Andrea Parharik, the man who brought the psychic spoonbender Yuri Geller to America in the 1970s. Pickett and Lynn got their information from anthropologists. And in return, they claim in their books that they were fed information from amphibians that came from outer space. All lies. All of these are lies. Then you heard of the Orion mystery. by Robert Bauval and Adrian Gilbert. I'm giving you the top faces in this thing. They took Robert Temple's template and made their own mythophysics from it. Gilbert was already popular from his book, The Mayan Prophecies, which you all should know because he predicted a calendar event of December 31st, 2012, a day that Armageddon was supposed to happen. The prediction of a so-called cosmic doom. Well, damn. Aren't we still here? These are scams everywhere. Then you have John Anthony West, The Serpent in the Sky, and Graham Hancock, The Sign and the Seal. By the way, Bauval and Hancock teamed up publishing The Fingerprints of the Gods. Here's another one. The sequel is called The Mystery of the Sphinx, published in 1997, co-authored with Bauval. In these books, Hancock, guess what he did? Laid out his Daniken and Temple inspired theory that the changing of the stars unveiled massive cataclysms and influences on the ancient world. This is all fucking Lovecraft. Remember, from whom the stars were wrong, they could not live. Hancock said the procession of stars brought the beginning and end of civilizations. They have initiated the masses without even being initiated into this thing. Whoever believes their theories, this alien cult becomes the new co-conspirator. That is my lecture. But I'm going to go further. Remember Quedo Mutwa? He created the myth of Chitahori, which, let's put David Icke in there, because David Icke takes Quedo Mutwa's story and turns it into a whole reptilian phenomenon. Matter of fact, let me just get a picture of him with Quedo. Here's both of them together. Quedo Mutwa died last year, or passed away, made the transition, but he was a cultist of Edom. Now get this, Quedo Mutwa, he said that the Chitahori possessed him in his last days. Get this, I learned this on Patreon. They told me that he said that the Chitahori turned him into a gay man. Yeah, Peter Moon is a scam. Peter Moon, real name is not even Peter Moon. I could go deeply into Peter Moon and break him down. So, could the reptilians be this alphabet agenda? Zachariah Stitchin, another cultist of Eden, whose job was to write to the Jews and to put them in the stars. But he calls his gods, the 50 faceless gods of Sumeria, the Anunnaki, which ain't nothing but the great old ones. You see? Which ain't nothing but the great old ones. You have to understand that. So let me open it up. Let me put the link in here. And we can go into hyperlucidity if needed. I'm going to post a link and I'm going to pin it at the top. Yeah, we got to talk about your boy, Billy Carlson. All right, guys, link is in there. Anybody still had questions? Remind me what your questions is, because this is a Q&A now. And then we'll try to end it off with some info. We can get into it of what's going on in the world, all the rituals and stuff. Say, are the star seeds real? Are the star seeds real? Hold on, I'm trying to get the races up here. Let me just really ask you a question. Do you think that this is real? Does anybody in here think that this is real? All right, then there you go. This is nothing but the cultists of Edom. That's all it is. You really think that this is real? Look at this stuff. Look at this. Do y'all believe in the Galactic Confederation? They're taking it outside of yourself. God, when you said, are we God? God is a Lord of a reality. That's all it is. Like when you're in your home, you are the Lord of that land that your home is on. You are the Lord of that land. So God is a Lord of a reality. That's simply what it is. They've given you a Lord, more lords to your own reality. That's all they have. And now people out here really believe in that starseed stuff, and all they need is themselves. Yeah, I talked about Dr. York too. Dr. York is a cultist of Edom too. He's one as well. He said, can I answer yours from the comment you put about the post, Chef? What is the comment, Jenny? I can't go back that far. Said, can I touch on Jamie Foxx? Yeah, I've touched on Jamie Foxx. I don't even know what's going on with Jamie Foxx. I know that is a ritual. I do believe that Jamie Foxx has probably been cloned, but I think he's been cloned because they're coming out with a movie, I think next month, called They Clone Tyrone, and he's starring in it. And just from the fact that the family came out and said that he's fine, he's been playing pickleball, and we haven't seen him, there's something very occult going on with him. Very, very occult that's going on with him. So somebody said it looks real. Y'all are so funny. So we the only star seeds. You better start looking at yourself as a star seed. You start looking at the Arcturians and the Lyrans. There ain't nothing in the stars but a dictation of vibrational frequency through cymatics affecting consciousness. If you want to call that the star seeds, you have all the rights in your own reality. You being the Lord over your reality, you being the sole proprietor over your destiny thread to believe what you want. I'm not here to make you believe into something, but that reptilian and that all that stuff with star races is fake. And it's based on Lovecraft stuff. And he was trying to warn you, it's called fake cosmic news. He said in the future, it will be a bunch of cults of people who believed in fake cosmic news. That's what the whole Lovecraftian mythos was about. And a lot of people fed into it. Yeah, he was wearing purple too. Yeah, I put that up on my Instagram in the show Soul. Jamie Foxx played a character named Joe Gardner who went to the astral plane. So I don't know. Does it indicate that from the Disney Pixar movie Soul that Jamie Foxx soul been ejected into the astral plane? We talked about EEG cloning, electromagnetic frequency cloning. They got that now. They can clone your consciousness. Maybe next I'll do the cloning video. I'll think about it. Go through the history of cloning. You said, what about Star Wars? Is it based on galactic wars? No, the Star Wars is based on things happening here, my yacht son. Everything that is talking is a cult mythos of things happening here on a spirit. Matter of fact, Star Wars ain't nothing but Kabbalah. Darth Vader is Doth. The hero in the story, Luke Skywalker represents Tifereth, the sun. What's the woman, the sister of him? All of that is Kabbalah. I could break it down. It's all Kabbalah. Hold on, guys. Okay. Can you explain how the mysteries schools in Egypt broke up? I went over that. I just broke that down, Ulufimi. You got to go back and watch the video. I told you about the solar cults and the polar cults and how it broke apart in the 13th dynasty. That's when the mystery schools shattered and people started believing in the sun instead of how the pole stars affect the subconscious. What about Billy Carson? Billy Carson is a scammer. Billy Carson is nothing but a grifter who got his template from Zachariah Stitchin. He's a cultist of Edom, and the Anunnaki ain't shit. Matter of fact, Sumerologists Ben told you that shit was fake. That when they read the same cuneiform tablets, they didn't even see the Anunnaki role in Nibiru. They didn't even see no shit like that. Somebody come in here. Let me put you on, brother. You on, Steve? Peace to you, God.
Peace, family.
Peace.
Peace and understanding. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
The ask is brother Yosef legit. Honestly, I've heard like one lecture from brother Yosef. So what does I don't know what is brother Yosef talking about? I really don't know. If he talking about them damn aliens, yes, he's grifting. If he talking about some aliens and shit like that, yes, he's grifting. You were saying something, Steve?
Right. So I just had I wanted to first say thank you, Ani, for presenting this information, for all of the particular books and bibliography that you put into this lecture to let us know that a lot of these books were made to degenerate the understanding to the public, and
Yes.
and how they were used in a way to make monies, specifically, for just misuse of information, and as an egregore to not knowing your true self. So I just want to thank you for that, first of all.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man.
And but my real question is, I was going through the Book of Enoch, which was introduced off of, it says Ethiopic writings, and was introduced in like 1838 by the, it says here, the professor from Oxford, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was just asking, now the Book of Enoch, they talk about the Watchers, and they talk about, it's like a book that was left out of what we call our current Bible, and it was a interpretation of some Hebrewic writings. But the issue that I'm trying to cope with, especially with all these authors that you evaluated,
Mm-hmm.
could, especially H.P. Lovecraft, could a lot of his works, since the Book of Enoch came before it was, translated into German and translated into Latin and all these different languages, almost 100 years before H.P. Lovecraft, could a lot of these other authors, kind of was using the interpretation of the Book of Enoch for the basis of their work? And that was what my real question was, brother.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think Lovecraft I think Lovecraft pulled from, it's called the Picatrix in English, but it's called the Hayat al-Hakim in Arabic, which is a astrological book on astro magic. And it gives you the most insidious spells on the record in that book. And I think the horror behind those spells and the entities, somehow you can read a bunch of literature. They think a lot of that was put into the Lovecraftian mythos. Now, these other authors, absolutely, they're grifters. So they pulled from Lovecraft. They pulled from what's the guy name? Von Daniken. And he pulled from Lovecraft too, and L. Ron Hubbard and Crawley. But the Book of Enoch is centered around their chief angel is Sam Yaza. Matter of fact, Uncle Sam in America is the angel Sam Yaza in the Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch was talking about egregores. These angels, the fallen angels they're speaking about is the egregores of the Promethean current of consciousness, because Prometheus was the first fallen angel in the Greek pantheon, which is what they call ancient. It ain't ancient to us, but it's ancient to them. And Prometheus gave man technology and wisdom. He gave man and woman the fire of the gods, which is the wisdom from these particular communications of cymatic entities called stars that's relaying consciousness, projecting it from one another, kind of like a telephone line of how we have it here. Like how we communicate through the telephone lines here. They have the same, that's what the stars are for the gods, they're telephone poles. So the answer to the question is yes. The fallen angels, the Watchers, which that's another cult, the Watcher cult, is a part of the alien cult. Who all these people believe in the fallen angels. The fallen angels ain't nothing but egregores. Just like they created an egregore for Satan, they created one for Jesus, they created one for reptilians. We're just witnessing magical spell invocation at a high advanced level over the masses And some of us have been caught up into the spell and we're being played, and they're the ventriloquists of it all.
Right, right. I'm glad you mentioned Crawley, because like his first books didn't appear until like the early 1900s, like 1920 or something like that. So, and he claimed that he was possessed by AWAS. And that's not that could be like one of the what they so-called devils, demons in the Book of Enoch. But I mean, this just goes by another name, Azazel.
Yeah, AWAS ain't nothing but Horus. He tells you that.
Right.
It's a form of Horus. Horus is a species more than a god. It's a species of cosmic intelligence, from what he's saying. And yeah, Crawley lied about a lot of. They call him the agent. So he's an agent. So he was working for the British intelligence.
All right, and my last question is, a lot of these authors, even though I mean it would take some other really deep type of research, obviously they were members of different secret societies and cults that that probably we don't know about, but I mean, I'm just saying that would take a lot of different research to uncover what the secret societies that they belong to.
Right. That's pretty much what's going on. They're masquerading egregores and conditioning it through scholarship and older magic circles of people practicing to spiritism through mediumship of different psychic mediators of the spirit realm. And whatever they say becomes the litigation of what the whole world has to believe, just because they think that this is the echelon of people bringing this type of information. And once that gets published, everyone believes that AWAS, or what is the other, Lamb, the Greys, are the things pulling the strings behind humanity. Then they start to put it in movies. Then it becomes almost like a parasite. And it gets you further and further away from what the truth is. Did you have any more questions, Guy?
No, thank you. That was the basis of my questions, because I was just trying to. I mean, I'm happy that you were able to chronologically go into these authors, because listen, I was around when the Chariots of the Gods came out, and I mean, you got the new school guys. I can't remember the white guy that's in the that was in the wheelchair that supposedly had died a couple of times, and then you got the Neil deGrasse's and all these different types of people. So it's very interesting.
Talking about Stephen Hawkins?
Stephen Hawkins, yes. So it's very interesting that you went through that chronological timeline, which is very beneficial to us as a people to understand our own culture first, versus and there are a lot of good books out. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm sure, but the issue is trying to determine through all of these these type of theories. So Thank you for that.
Man, thank you. That's our elder right there. Those of you who don't know, you come a Patreon. We really respect what this brother says, and I appreciate him. He's been with the Star Tribe for years.
Right. I appreciate, and that's another thing I want to say. If you're not on Patreon or something, that's even deeper information that people should know about. And I understand there's always going to be some people in, you know, in the chat room or anything, and they, you know, they stuck in a certain level of understanding. But if you want to up your understanding of occult eschatology and just, you know, have a strive for learning, you know, about different things, it's not so much as like, oh, it's the devil and I'm gonna leave it alone and you all scary and stuff like that. But hey, it's scary just leaving out your house every day. But what I'm trying to say is,
Right.
knowledge is power. So, family, do your due diligence. You know, get with Ani on his different platforms, because the brother is real with the information. That I do know. So thank you for letting me into, you know, the conversation.
I appreciate you too, brother. You all.
Somebody else ask a question.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. So that's our elder right there. Now, brother, he gives us great chronological history because he was around when all of that stuff was going on anyway. You know, so he would know better than me. I'd just be studying stuff and bring it back up. Talk about Jim Brown in a second. Okay, let me go back to some of your questions. So Jenny says, do I know the channel Maverick Star? I don't. And she says, because he's following the pole shift with time and dates and where it is heading, and it's heading towards Russia. Oh, well, I mean, I don't follow Maverick Star. But as long as he ain't talking about no reptilians, then shout out to him. I hope his information helps people who's listening. Sink Swim says, do you think the chemtrails will provide a canvas to project holograms on? It's called smart dust, Sink Swim. Look into smart dust. That's what you're speaking about. And I'm not sure if that's the particular, I guess that is a chemical trail, but mainly baryon or barium and those other type of things, that the aerosol and stuff is the stuff that's affecting us. But the smart dust absolutely can put a hologram in the sky. You said, was Delbert Blair legit? Then yeah, Delbert Blair was legit. I don't remember Delbert Blair speaking about reptilians so much. I don't remember that. If he was, then he was capping a little bit, but he spoke about more information than that. Said a difference between the $5 versus $20 level on Patreon. Well, I announced when they erased my channel that I fuse all of the tiers for now on the $5 tier. I've said that almost on every YouTube video, that if you pay for $5 right now on Patreon, I say get the $5 on Patreon right now, because I put all of the tiers on the same tier, which is $5. Now, in like a month or two, I'm going to start separating them into different tiers. I just have to get back into a rhythm and pump the videos out. And plus, I'm coming back on YouTube more. So right now, $5 can get you the information. In like a month, once we set up the spiritual retreat that we're about to have, we're going to start separating everything from the hyperlucidity videos to the reptilian, the synchronization of the void. Then you have to pay for other tiers. Say, okay, what do you think of Phil Schneider? I'm not aware of Phil Schneider. I think I heard of Phil Schneider, but I'm not aware what he speaks on. I'm not aware what Phil Schneider speaks on. So that's my answer to that. Okay, so they killed Jim Brown. A lot of people think just because he was 80 years old, it's a natural death. He died on Malcolm X's birthday, his friend. And I think his full name, James Nathaniel Brown, equals 87 in gematria. And he's connected to LeBron. They're both from Cleveland. And when the Lakers lost to the Denver Nuggets last night, the Lakers became 8-7 in the playoffs. They became 8-7 in the playoffs. So this is a tribute to Jim Brown, the whole 87 ritual last night. So people think that LeBron James could become 5-6 in the finals. That's what I thought the strip is. But what I'm noticing now, they're starting to flip the strip on a lot of people studying gematria. Gematria is real, but at any moment they have like 5 scenarios that can connect to another plot that they can play with different characters. So right now the theme fits LeBron, but tomorrow it can switch to Nikola Jokic being the star character in their movie, and the numbers will fit with it. So you have to understand that. But on Sports Illustrated back in 2008, I believe, they had LeBron James and Jim Brown on the cover of the Cleveland collection. And on the side, the subtitle of the magazine said, Lakeside Legends of Cleveland. Could they have known however many years it was ago that LeBron James was going to play for the Lakers? And was Jim Brown's sacrifice for LeBron James to be the first player in NBA history to come back from being 0-3 down in the playoffs? I say that because no NBA team has come back from 0-3. Matter of fact, the number is 0 to 100 and 0 out of 149 teams have came back. That means none out of 149. And game 7 of the Lakers and the Nuggets would be on the 149th day of the year. So if the Lakers did go to game 7, it would be on the 149th day of the year, meaning it could indicate a win, the first in history of someone coming back from 3-0, which I don't know. I don't try to figure out the strip no more. Sometimes the riddle is very, very evident, but they can switch that storyline very, very quickly. Yeah, LeBron's wore the number 30. LeBron wears the number 23, or he wore it, and Jim Brown was 32. So yeah, they do that. It's called inversion rituals. So rest in power to Jim Brown. He's now an ancestor. Sorry, guys, my alarm. Let's some other stuff that was going on. Yes, just going back into the Jamie Foxx thing, they got like all of the characters from his first show, the Jamie Foxx show, commenting saying that they didn't want to say nothing about what's going on with Jamie like they know. But always remember, in the Jamie Foxx show, Jamie Foxx's name is Jamie King. And this is the year of the king's coronation. King Charles was coronated, and it could also be connected to King James LeBron winning his 5th ring, because King Charles was coronated on May 6th, which can be written like 5/6, 56. And if LeBron wins the championship this year, he would be 5-6 in his title rings, or whatever his championship ring. So something to keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on that. Let's see what else is going on. Some other news. Okay, so they're coming out with this Transformers Rise of the Beast next month. this movie Transformers Rise of the Beast, you gotta be ready to watch that movie, because the Rise of the Beast, well, I can't talk about it on here. You go on Patreons to hear why I talk about it. I definitely can't talk about that on here, but Rise of the Beast is set to come out, and they're literally talking about the beast, not this beast right here. They're talking about artificial intelligence and other stuff. But notice last week in a children's cartoon that Transformers introduced their first Autobot that's non-binary, identified as non-binary. Let me play the clip for you.
Pronouns are they, them.
Thanks. I'm Sam. I'm she, they, but you already know that.
Wow. What an amazing city.
Okay, and they talk about it at the end. She says something at the end that I can't play on here. And then you had another video. I can find it. Give me 1 second. Another video in another cartoon. Should be right here. I don't know where it went. Another Transformers cartoon, they did the same thing in the same month. If I can't find it, I'm gonna go to videos. I can pull it up. Hold on. Let's go to videos. Okay, here it goes right here.
Morning. Can you switch?
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am. My apologies. Switch their piece.
And if you see how you have to submit to it. So they're telling you what is king now and what is the consciousness is going to be. I'm not going to say too much about it, but they're showing that you must submit to it. There is no disagreement with it. And I'm not speaking on whatever people do, whatever they want to do, but I'm just showing you in these kids' cartoons, 2 Autobots converted into non-binary characters. One was called Earthspark, and the other was called Nightshade. You see? Yeah, and they had the melanated girl, the young girl to do it. So they got this thing coming in, you know, coming all full circle. And you got to be looking at stuff around. Some of these, they be showing symbols and stuff. You just got to be looking at it. It's got to be looking at it. So, you know, y'all know I could go in more on that, but I'm going to leave it alone. So you also had the whole ritual with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, whereas they felt like they were being followed by a paparazzi for 2 hours, and some people think it was assassination attempt, but somebody caught on camera Meghan Markle smiling and laughing during the whole thing. So we think this could be some type of acting going on, but she definitely was selected to be sacrificed because they have her dress like Prince Harry's mother, Princess Diana. They even have the same bracelets I'm showing right here. Princess Diana had on. She has to wear the same bracelets. And this is mandatory. She has to wear the same outfits on certain days that Princess Diana wore it on. And how I know is a ritual, Meghan Markle equals 108 in gematria. The whole incident they had with the paparazzi following the car comes 108 days before Meghan Markle's birthday. So you got to look at that. You notice how she has to wear the same dress. It's all rituals. They're preparing her for sacrifice. I'm not saying I want her. You know, I'm not saying all of that, but it's called dark gematria. You know, yeah, I can't even get into that on here either. I can't get into that. They'll do something with that too. Oh, and this one too. She had to wear this dress too here. Jorge says, I tell you what, I don't want my wife wearing what my mom wears. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is crazy, man. Yeah, it's just switching of characters, man. That's all what's going on. Beyonce is on tour. Apparently, she has a serious ankle injury and she has to take drugs just to continue to dance and perform. Some people claim she's a drug addict, but they put her back on this horse. I was talking about the Neptunian rituals from last year, Neptune being the Greek god, and it says in the mythology that he created horses. Neptune relating to water. The flowing of energy is water. And they showed her on this mechanical horse floating with these grandeurs of sparkling crystals on her attire and on the horse. And then the whole scene turned into the goddamn CERN machine. And is looking like artificial intelligence, is looking like something that has some symbolism down the line of what they're about to produce. But it definitely looks like the CERN machine here. So you got to pay attention to the performances of these people. They tell you exactly what's about to happen. It's all esoteric. Now you got to go get the show Class of 09 with David, was it David Henry? David Tyree Henry? What is his name? I don't even know this guy's name. Brian Tyree Henry. Okay. I call him David. In my mind, his name was David. All right. So in the movie or in the TV series, it's about the best class of the FBI of all time. And they're connecting all of the things the FBI has done over history. And the only black guy, he becomes the head of the FBI. And he's the one who installs artificial intelligence to track different quote unquote criminals or enemies of the state. Now, the reason why they had to have the black guy do it is because I showed you an article a long time ago. Type in artificial intelligence is racist. Look, they try to, now they're putting gender in it. You know, they bring that next. But there's articles all over racism and artificial intelligence systems. There's so many articles on here. And basically, it was a story that came out a couple years ago where one guy went through some scanner, some facial recognition scanner, and the scanner identified him as somebody that had a warrant out in another state. They arrested the guy, and come to figure out the guy they arrested had never even in his whole history been in the state that the warrant was issued from. So there are dangers. Now, the original article stemmed from, let me show you this. The autonomous car. Look it up. You think this is articles. AI flaws could make your next car racist. Basically, the autonomous cars that drive itself are being programmed to seek out people with darker skin color and just run them over. So that's what's going on with that. I mean, that's not me. I'm just telling y'all what's going on. So this guy, Brian Tyree, or Henry Tyree, whatever his name is, this whole thing is agenda based. And I want to show you something real quick. Did somebody just come up in here? Oh, okay. I thought somebody came. Okay. Let me show you something from the scene from class of 09.
Senator, what is it you want to say?
There are inexplicable arrests. You know it. I know it.
No, Senator, I don't know it.
People who've done nothing wrong.
So they say.
I have a close friend. Her son was arrested by the Bureau, and none of us know why.
Maybe she didn't know her son as well as she thought she did.
It wasn't for something they'd done. It could only have been for something they might do.
You see, I'm trying to find the name of this guy, but this guy was saying it was a TikTok video. I'm gonna find it for you guys. But he said that the artificial intelligence is gonna know where you want to spend your money before you even spend it. It knows your decision. It's gonna know your decisions before you make the decisions, so it can put up some type of barricade in whatever. It can manipulate things to stop you from doing something that it knows that you may do. There's a probability of you doing it. So if it doesn't want you to buy a certain organic food, it can do something to prevent you from buying it. This is the future. And she's saying this system does not arrest people for what they've done. It arrests people for what they may do. And that's going to be centralized mainly at melanated people. You best believe that.
Tell me that's impossible, and I walk out.
You know, according to folklore, 500 years ago,
I want you to really listen to this because I've told you about this.
in the city of Prague, Rabbi Lowe made a creature out of clay, a golem, scraped from the banks of the river Vltava to protect the Jews from persecution. You see, he didn't really trust his rulers. He certainly didn't trust the law. People can't save the Jews. But with this clay golem brought to life with the breath of God's name, they might stand a chance.
Not everyone sees this system as a savior.
People failed, Senator, in their most basic duty to protect each other, to look after one another. People, well, they're just no goddamn good at it.
So when he started talking about the golem, what's actually the significance of that? Because he's not being literal, he's still talking in code. You have to understand these things. You have to study what's he actually saying. The golem is the same thing as the goyim or a homunculus, a artificial person. The only people who have been made artificial is melanated people. What I mean by that I'm saying that they've taken one people, they've subtracted the qualities of what originally the culture is tied around a specific group, and they've made them into what they wanted them to become. That's a golem. That is the metaphor behind the golem. It's a created artificial person. And they're telling you in this scene that they're targeting the golem. Frankenstein, there you go. So you better know how to read in between the lines. And there'll be a lot of people thinking, oh man, it's not race-based and all that. Y'all know y'all be lying. Just be saying stuff to make you feel better. Not to say that it all revolves around that. Of course, it's spiritual, but you best believe it's part of it. And I'm a type of person that don't fabricate nothing. That's why my channels get deleted. We figured out that these pictures were fake. This is AI generated. So the future, these photos like Elon Musk doing this, this is the future is we ain't gonna know what's fake and what's real. That's the future. So I'm not even gonna go into this because these are fake photos, and I'll tell you the truth. I'm not gonna fabricate nothing. If it was real, I would tell you it's real. All right, family, we've been on here for a minute. Do we have any other questions? I'm opening it up for questions. Last call for alcohol. So we're going to get ready to close this out. You said, what platform is Class of 09 on? I always tell y'all, I watch it. You can go to onemovieshd.com. And if you can get past that, put in Class of 09. Here you have it right here. Some ads pop up sometime, but there you go. You got it. You can watch it on your phone, and you can stream mirror it and put it up on your TV from your phone. But Joel says it's on Hulu. I don't pay for all of those apps. So any other metaphysical shows or movies we covered? I told you, go see The Pope's Exorcist. I went over some movies recently. Let me look up the latest movies out. The Guardians of the Galaxy, definitely look at that. The Guardians of the Galaxy. The Super Mario movie has some stuff in it too. I didn't know Hypnotic was out. I'm gonna have to look at that. John Wick 4, that's esoteric. Let's see. Dungeons and Dragons has some things in it. And that's all I know. There's another movie coming out called The Simulant. Yeah, you got to go see this. This one is about to come out. Matter of fact, let's watch the trailer to it. Oh, there's another one too. It's another one too. I'm going to show you after this.
Stranger. What happened after the accident?
I know that this is hard to understand.
Artificial Intelligence Compliance Enforcement.
You shut down the power to an entire city block.
Just let me investigate. I'm telling you, this one's different.
Unregistered simulant.
Bored of a simulant? Time for a new one?
I thought you would help.
Please don't do this.
I can't do this anymore.
So what happened here?
The sim has been hacked. Somebody altered the resets designed to protect us.
Who did this to you? I want to go home. I know you're a sim.
All right, you got that. So that's one. They said it's already out. So y'all can start watching that now. But this is the one right here. This is the one that ain't out yet. This is huge. Called The Creator. This one's going to be huge.
What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
Are you going to heaven?
No.
Why not?
You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
10 years ago today, the artificial intelligence created to protect us detonated a nuclear warhead in Los Angeles. For as long as AI is a threat, we will never stop hunting them. This is a fight for our very existence.
Whatever's in there, they're sure worried about someone getting in.
Yeah, we're getting out.
Come back to you. We're just saying we can't go to heaven because you're not good.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's wild. It's the future, man. It's showing you the future. Yeah, I think that's Denzel Washington's son. Yeah. Yep. So we got a lot of things to break down on Patreon. I guess I'm going to go watch that simulant and be watching the show From. By the way, that's another one. From, a TV series. I got to watch a new episode tonight, man. From is deep, man. I'm going to do a full breakdown on From. Where is From at? Hold on. It's 2022 epics. From. Yep, here it goes. Yeah, From is deep. It's real heavy. That's going to be the main breakdown I'm going to do in the next week or so. Well, I want this season to finish. Yeah, it's really good. Really, really good, man. Very good, man. Y'all check out From. If you haven't started watching it, just go back and I'm going to tie it all in. It's in the second season right now. It's real fire. All right, family. I guess that's enough for today. I hope y'all have rid your minds of the reptilian myth. It's on Epics. Help you rid your mind from that. We'll be back on Patreon this week. I guess we got to start off and do the think tank for our Naga crowns, our copper crystal crowns. I'll be on Generation Z and I'll be on the One podcast this week. So we got a lot of stuff we got to do. And I'm going to end the video by playing the song. I want y'all to follow this girl named Iniko. I just found her before I did the video, and she got a fire song that's out right now. I'm going to play a snippet of it. Y'all go follow Iniko, spiritual sister. And we'll end it with this. Arimpoya, Oshulu, Ashe to the gods and goddesses. Till next time.
I don't gotta say it, you know, I come from outer space, yeah. No Lambo, hop into the spaceship. Let's go, born in the tundra, ice cold. If you think you know me, you don't. My mood change daily. Scorpio, I'm the next highlight. I'm real bold in the dark, I'm a nightlight. No ghost, real trippy, real scaly. Siren, real hot, real flamey. Cayenne, make waves on the daily trident. And a bowl, I'm a lamb, I'm silent. Tell the truth in the booth, no lying. Real high in the clouds, I'm flying. No gold on my mouth, just fire. Third eye got me hearing louder. I have been given a message. Whatever you touch, you must bless it. Bless it, bless it.